to find great? Follow me. New listings. Whatever you're looking for, you'll find it on Yelp. Yelp has a range of great traders and suppliers. Those are artists. Let me take you to the painters. There you go.
Good morning, South Africa. Or it's actually good morning, Houston. And I don't know if Esti's in California or not, but it might be really early morning for her.
So it's 6 in the morning right now.
Super. Well, hey everyone, I'm Danny Gavin, and I'm going to be moderating our panel today. Today is all about launching, marketing, and selling your business, specifically for entrepreneurs. As a reminder, at the end of today's session, we're going to be giving out 2 Take a Lot 500 Rand vouchers sponsored by Yep. So that's for those people who interact the most, ask the best questions, and I'll choose those 2 winners at the end. So I think we're going to get started. So just a little bit about me. I'm the chief strategist and founder of Optage, which is a full service digital marketing agency, as well as a professor of digital marketing at the University of Houston and ODO Academy. First, why don't we let all of our amazing panelists today introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. So Essie, since you already spoke up, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Esti Star. I like to say that my day job is just helping business owners earn more money with less headache. I run a multinational consultancy for micro business owners for over a decade now. And we do everything from the strategy to the implementation, guiding business owners to build the organic marketing and business strategies that help them earn more without having to spend more.
Super. Thanks, Esti. Welcome. All right, Neo, how about you?
Sure, Danny. Hi, everyone. I'm Neo Lekabo. I am a founder and a CEO of a marketing media agency called Trina Marketing, where we sell advertising space, but we also own digital screens and some other advertising infrastructure. I also founded and own a safety app that uses your phone as a panic alert called Lady Shield, which essentially allows you to call armed security or medical emergency wherever you are in the country.
Super. Welcome, Neo. All right, Nicola and Anna, I think you guys are together.
Hey, Danny. If you could get me to start the video, that will be great. Hello, everybody.
Right.
Dialing in together. I am the one part of Growth Inc. co-founder. I look after retention and make sure that our customers can keep their customers for longer and make more money from them.
Hi guys, Nicola here. I'm the other half of Growth Inc. I'm primarily responsible for customer acquisition, and Growth Inc. was born out of a deep passion for helping businesses of all sizes grow bigger, smarter, and really make smarter decisions in a prioritized fashion, because growth can be very daunting, and we just sometimes need to break it down and keep it simple before we complicate our lives. So that's what we like to help businesses with.
Wonderful. Welcome. All right. So that's our crew today. And I think we're going to get started. So when we talk about launching, marketing, and selling, the first area that we usually want to talk about is setting up the correct foundation. And when we talk about setting up the correct foundation, it usually is involved with setting up your brand or figuring out your brand, as well as figuring out a content strategy. So that's what we're going to jump into first. So first with brand. So Neo, do you want to go first and start talking about brand?
Yeah, sure. I think a lot has been made about the idea of a brand, what it is, etc. by and large, I think there's an agreement around brand being what customers say it is, the trust that they have in your product, and not necessarily how you define it yourself. But I think the importance of it is that it is the one thing that's going to help you generate more revenue. If people trust your brand, they will buy it. And I think you can imagine people can imagine the brands that they love and they fall in love themselves. But also in entrepreneurship, sometimes when you still have an idea or a product and it has not yet developed into a brand, sometimes you as the entrepreneur are the brand. The people that you speak to, whether it be customers or funders, they have to believe in you and they buy into you before they even buy into your product. And I think that's one thought that I think is not mentioned enough, and I wanted to make that point.
Super, thank you. So Nicola, I know you mentioned to me before that a lot of people think brand is like a logo. So do you want to stress a little bit more, like what is a brand?
Yeah, I mean, I think most people know that it's so much more than just a logo. That really is the tip of the iceberg. But brand is, and the best way to think about it, and what we so often say to our clients, is that it's not one of the things that you're going to do as an entrepreneur. It's the sum of everything that you do. So you have to use it really look at it from your customer's point of view. And every experience, every touch point, every time they think about you, try to engage with you, whether it's engaging with your content or actually trying to purchase from you, all of that is a branded experience. So thinking like that, then just practically think about answering a very simple question. What are you solving? As a brand, why do you exist? And if you can answer very, very simply what your purpose is, why you exist, which also simultaneously and very easily answers what you're solving for a customer, and hold on to that throughout the relationship with the potential and existing customer. What you're solving for needs to be the reason they engage with you to start with, and it needs to be the reason they are happy that they engaged with you and that they continue to, because you obviously are true to that purpose. So just hold on to that. And then some practical things, like Neo mentioned, often you will launch and then you're a new brand. And if that's, as it so often is the case, it means that, you often feel that you have to spend a huge amount of money building up brand awareness, etc., which is often not available. It's not the kind of capital that's easily available for startups. So then you need to think smart. You need to think of things like, in terms of what you're solving for customers, what are those generic search terms? So say, for example, you are launching a health range and you are solving fatigue, you're solving stress, you're solving anxiety. You need to associate those words to your brand name to start building up that SEO, because you can have the best site in the world, but if people can't find you because they don't know what you're solving for, it's really going to be difficult for you to start gaining momentum as a brand. So think about practically how you can associate your brand name with what you're solving for through search, through influencers, etc. Super.
Yeah, I find it so fascinating that so many people, especially entrepreneurs, they just get started, they start selling, or they have their idea, but they don't step back to ask those questions and actually ask themselves, like, what do we do? Who do we target? And start to develop that sort of brand, and who are their personas? Cool. Well, I think that's a great start for the morning. Let's move on to content. Esti, do you want to share a little bit? So, now that you kind of have a brand and kind of figuring out, so like, what would be the next step specifically when it's talking about content and putting your message out there?
So I think there's a couple steps between brand and content. You can't you're like, okay, I got a brand and let's go. So the way I see it, and I love what Neo and Nicola said, the brand is the soul of your business. It's the genesis. It contains the entire DNA of everything you do. Your messaging is everything's in your brand. Okay. And once you have that, though, you do need to know who your people are That's your next step. The problem you solve for them. The way I visualize it is like a flower. That's my the graphic we use. I actually just did the recording yesterday for our new training. So the brand's the seed. The center of the flower is the target. The stem that connects them is the problem you solve. Before you create any content, those three things have to be solid. You need to know what you're about, the problem you solve, and who your people are, who you're creating content for. What do they need to hear from you? What do they want to know? I would also recommend, like what you're selling. That would help too. Like there's moving parts, and we've all seen, and I know many of you participating may have experienced, right? That is very often, like Danny said, like that's the next step. Okay, got a brand, got a business, got a name, got a logo, let's go. No, just no. Sorry, I don't think that was the answer you were looking for.
No, I think it's a very good point that there's a lot before you go into content, definitely.
Yeah. Sorry, do you want me to answer the question now?
Yeah.
All right. So one of my frameworks for content is EIEIO, like Old MacDonald. Old MacDonald had a farm. Yeah. Okay. So educational, inspirational, EI, educational, inspirational, entertaining, information, and offers. All right, so these are 5 really good categories for content. You don't really need more. That pretty much covers. If you're not doing something that is, and how you choose which of these 5 you want to do the most, you don't need and probably want to do all of these on a regular basis. You want to focus in like 1 or 2, maybe 3 zones, more like 1 or 2, depending on your brand archetype and personality, who your audience is, how you're trying to present yourselves to them. But these are your 5 categories of content: entertaining, inspiration, education, information, and offers. That's probably more what you're looking for, yeah?
Well, that's great. And it's a great way to remember it. And
I like analogies and acronyms. It helps.
Totally. And I would say that like those different types of content, one really has to think about the platform that they're on. And so there's a certain sort of mix that makes sense, and really depends, right? Some content makes sense on some platforms, some on others. But that's really cool.
Yes.
Thanks, Esty.
And
cool. Nicola and Anna, do you guys want to add anything to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd actually really love to pick up on what Esty was talking about, knowing who your customers are and knowing what it is that's what your brand stands for, what it is that you want to tell, what the stories are that you want to tell, entertaining, educational. But what is the value? What is the value proposition? What are you solving for? I think that is incredibly, incredibly important. And we see a lot of brands these days and a lot of services go straight into a product fix, going straight into telling the customers what they do, what the product is. But actually what you should be talking about is very much a value-led proposition, very much about what is the benefit that you solve for and that you bring to the customer, and who is the right customer that you are actually talking to. Because the way that you do education for a teen to the way that you do education for an adult, it's going to be very different. The channels that you pick are going to be very different. The story is going to be told in a slightly different way. Even though you're still doing a brand educational job, it's, I think, incredibly, incredibly important that you are able to articulate it in a manner to write to the channel and write to the audience and write to your product / brand proposition. So I think it's really important that you are able to articulate it and able to find the best way to deliver that.
I think it goes back to Esty's. I love the also I think in visuals. So I really love the flower metaphor. And you're thinking about your brand is the seed, but what are you're solving for the end user, for your potential customer, to get that stem, for that flower to have any chance of life. And I think that's a really beautiful way to think about it. And I think it's so important that you do. And I see that Fortune has mentioned in the chat that value proposition is something that's very close to his heart, and it needs to be close to all of our hearts, because we have to go, right, this brand is going to stand for solving this problem for these people. And we're going to do that through targeting them in these channels, because these are the channels that make sense. But I think we're going to talk to channels after this. So I might have just segued us into the next section, Danny.
Yeah, so before we jump into channels, I just wanted to say thank you everyone on the chat for putting in your comments and really nice words and questions. And remember, for those 2 lucky people, we'll be getting vouchers at the end of our session today. So make sure to be active. A really good question just came in before we segue into channels. It's a long question, so I'm not going to read it, but I guess the crux of the question really is, do you need to do customer and audience research before you actually create your brand? So I'd love to hear from the panel. It could be anyone. You guys can see the question there. Does anyone want to add some insight for Justin's question?
Okay, so I'll just give it a step and I'll be short with it. I think there isn't one way to actually do it. One thing works for other business and others don't, depending on the product and the kind of brand that the kind of problem you're solving for. But I think it is important, very, very important, to at least understand what your customers need, right? We can go into what method you're using. Are you doing segmentation? Are you going to go and do research, or whatever the case is? But I think just as a general principle, you've got the features of your product, you've got the advantages over your competitors, and you've got the benefits of your product. And I think it's important to understand and to satisfy yourself that you have enough insights in terms of your audiences, in terms of how they think, how they smell, how they taste, how they touch, how they feel, and how they're going to actually accept whether they want to accept your proposition. So I think we can debate what the method is, but absolutely you need to know what your customers are looking for.
I think absolutely, and I just want to add to that from the point of view of saying you are going to have so many ideas in your head about what your service or product is going to solve for, and how it's going to change the world, or how it's going to make you a millionaire in the next 5 years. But the reality is you have to exist for a purpose, and that purpose has to serve a need. And that's either a created need or an existing need. So when you're speaking to people, and yes, we're not at the stage, many of us, where you have the deep pockets to go do significant customer research. And I would imagine that's where the question's coming from as well. So think about, what are you solving for? And then speak to people. Just get out there, speak to people, go to who you think would be a potential customer and ask them, does this solve this for you as it's intended to? And just get that feedback, solicit that feedback from as many people as you can. And then ask the second question you need to ask is, what is the most important thing about this that I'm solving for you? And why that's important is because so often we'll think it's one thing, but actually that's secondary to the most important thing for our core user. So for example, I might think I'm solving for convenience, but actually the most important thing that I'm solving for may be price, but I'm going in with a convenience angle. So I think, and it's not necessarily one or the other, but just get that nuanced feedback, and it doesn't have to cost huge amounts of money, but just test your thinking.
That's great. I call it like coffee shop surfing. Like you literally go from table to table and asking people things, and you can do that. Cool. Well, that's great feedback. Thank you so much. I think we're going to now move on to the next part, which is getting more into marketing channels. So you've got your brand, you've got your content, and yes, Esty, I know it doesn't just happen that quick and easy. But as we move on to the marketing channels, let's talk about, we've got a lot of marketing channels, digital, traditional, and there's different strategies for converting people. So let's first get into the world of digital marketing channels and see, recommended, how do you approach it? We can start off with Anna.
Sure, perfect. And I see Justin's added in some more questions, so I'm sure we'll have some time a little bit later on to build onto things like segmentations and A/B testing and things like that. But just to take us back to how do we get ourselves an online presence? I think the very first question is, do you need an online presence? And what does that look like? So many times people just go, I need an app. And you know what? I'm going to have this whole thing and I need a QR code for this and I need this. But actually, really, again, going back to what is your audience? Where's your audience? Where are they most likely to be found? What are the different channels that you need to think about? What does your website/Mobi site need to look like? What do you need to portray? And again, what is the benefit and the product? Sorry, not the product, the benefit and the problem that you're solving, and how are you positioning that to talk about it on the website? So when somebody looks for purchasing light bulbs, where do they find the closest one? How do I make sure that that's accessible to as many people as possible in the right target audience? Make sure that you've got the right level of presence for your product/value need.
Yeah, to build on that as well, I just wanted to add, just always think about it. I think it can become very overwhelming for SMEs when we go, oh, I need a channel strategy, and I need to get to grips with Google Analytics, and I don't know, do I invest in Facebook and Insta, and TikTok's now a thing, and I have to spend money there, and it's very overwhelming. So just do a day in the life of, or a moment in the life of your ideal customer, who and now you need them to find you. That's what a channel strategy is: creating the opportunity to be found easily when you are the answer to somebody's problem or need. So when you think about it like that, just think about a search engine, Google. Think about yourself. I really want a health supplement to help with my fatigue. Hey, Google, health supplements for fatigue, or what can I take for fatigue? Or I'm just really tired, help. That's, you need to answer that need and come up as the solution. And what that means is what I was saying earlier about things like your product description is very, very important, detailing what you are solving so that Google matches your brand to that you are solving, that your product is solving. And it's really important that when you do organic stories, which don't cost anything, when you put content into the world that talks to that, that's what my product does for this person, and this is how it benefits them, and that's why it's important. You are training Google to associate you and what you're solving for with what people are looking for. So you're creating a path for the end user to finding you. And I've just used a search example, but obviously if you're putting content into social media, if your audience is an Instagram or you want to test an Instagram, you're creating a path for them to find you. And that's just the way you need to think about it. Don't worry about getting caught up in big words and channel strategies and this and that. Just find ways for them to find you.
Super. I'm glad you chose the search engine optimization strategy because that's close to my heart. But cool. Thank you so much. Esty, do you want to add on?
Yeah, I do. And I love what Nicola was saying. So I want to break it down into kind of 3 steps. I'm very orderly like that. So step number 1, you need a presence online, right? When someone looks for you, they need to find you. If they don't, you don't exist. I literally don't care if you're standing right in front of me. If I Google you while you're standing here and I don't find you, you don't exist. You are not real. So you need a presence. When people look for you, that's basic SEO. Advanced SEO is when people are looking for the solution to the problem you solve. That's advanced. That's a lot harder, more expensive, takes longer. Basic, if I'm looking for you, your name, your exact business name and location, all of that, I find you, that takes less than an hour. You can own the first page of Google on your name really easily. Do that first. That's level 1. Level 2 is starting to get out there, choosing a promotional strategy. But inside that, like I was saying, you have to know, like I said before, who are your people? Where are they? Love the idea of a day in the life. I still remember this guy called me and he's like, Esty, I know that if I just was on Facebook properly, business would take off. I'm like, okay, that's, it's the 2020s. That's reasonable. So what's the line of business? Continuing education for geriatrics. Okay. Like the 70 plus set. So you're targeting like the kids and the caretakers. He's like, no, we're targeting the 70 plus set that still is living independently on their own. Like, are they on Facebook? He's like, I don't know, I'm not. Can't make this up. Like, I can't make this up. You need to choose the channels where your audience is. So I would tell you choose at least one social media channel, okay? Because there are so many. If you hate it, then don't do a digital strategy. Do an offline strategy. They still work. They work fantastically. But if you're going to go digital, pick at least one social media platform that you'll have more than just a presence on, that you will be actively engaged in, right? Social media is a party. Your website, that's your house. People come to you. It's your store. They come to you. Social media is a party 24/7. Every platform is a different party. Which party do you want to hang out at, right? If you try to, what is it? Dance at every wedding, dance at none. I forget. There's like one of those isms. If you just try to like post on everything at a multi-channel strategy with this very expensive media company, and they're doing a blog and an RSS feed and they're putting it all everywhere, nobody sees you, nobody cares. Like you walk to the party, you're like dropping flyers, you're walking out, everyone's just stepping on them. Nobody cares, right? Get on, get engaged, participate at the party, pick one channel. And then if your business is ready for the next level, because that's already working, then go ahead and pick another digital strategy. There's so many. There's SEO and there's blogging and there's partnerships and there's PR. Like there's so many, but from where you can start. And in that step 3, before you ever pay for anything, refine your messaging for free, because it's all free. Refine the messaging, see what's working for people, do your EIEIO. Get to see what interests your audience to buy, not just to follow, not just to comment, to purchase, unless you particularly like burning money, in which case you could send it to me. I don't mind. I have other things to do with it.
So if anyone has extra money, you can feel free to send it over to Esty. That's a really cool point. And I think that kind of segues into one of the questions that just came through. And this could be anyone in the panel, but a lot of people, like when they're just starting out and they're doing a lot of different things, when it comes to the marketing, they're unsure, like, should I do it myself? Should I hire an agency? Do I need to hire an agency? So I know you kind of touched upon that already, but I'd love to just see specifically that question. And it could be open to the panel. When you're starting out, should you start marketing yourself or go with an agency, or how to approach that?
So I'd love to tackle that, even though I was just talking. You need to understand it. I don't care if you hire it out. I don't care if you do it, but if you don't understand it, you're going to get burnt, because the blind lead the blind, right? If you don't even know what you don't know, you're likely to end up with people who don't know what they don't know. And then again, it's that burning money thing. One of my main teachings is how you never waste money on marketing again. So I would advise, if you are interested in marketing, if you like it, if it's exciting to, if you think it's cool, learn about it, dabble it in yourself. If you don't, if you hate it, despise it, would rather literally just listen to someone scratching their nails on a chalkboard all day long, ugh, children of the 90s, then you probably want to hire it out, but you still want to learn about it first, because you need to know what you're going to hire. Otherwise, how are you supposed to know? Oh, but they're the expert. No, they're not the expert for you. They're the expert for them. You need to know enough to know what you need to hire.
I think that falls great in line. I saw a tweet last night just along the same concept. Someone was talking about like SaaS companies, and SaaS is like software as a service. And they're talking about, if you're running a SaaS company and you don't have the ability to do your own marketing, but it said, ideally, you should own the strategy. And then for the marketing, you could then actually the execution, you could apply to an agency. But it's so important, similar concept, that, I always say that, you know, running an agency, it's always like it's like a matchmaking session. It's like a marriage, right? Both sides kind of have to give in. You can't just give it all over to either side. And therefore, coming from the agency side, yes, it's important to have a good client who understands things, can buy in, and potentially even lead the strategy, especially for them. Because if all of everything was in that agency and that agency leaves, oh my gosh, it's gone. So there's a lot of different points there, but that's cool.
Just to add to that,
yeah, go ahead.
what Esty said, and I'm just thinking about a lot of you in South Africa. I think, you know, when you think about digital marketing, you know, there are so many options, as Esty mentioned. And when you think about, you know, channel, and the reality is online, what is so often referred to now as online marketing, it's path to purchase. It's taking somebody from a place of knowing about you to considering using you, engaging with your content, and getting to the point where they have a transaction with you. They give you their money. And now, you know, 10, 20 years ago, not that long ago, when that predominantly was happening in physical environments, the CEO knew what was happening in his store. He knew what was happening with the sales. Just because buying has moved into a virtual environment does not mean it is the responsibility of marketing alone. You have to understand what's happening in your sales channels. And it is your responsibility to know that, because if you don't know that, you won't know what good looks like. And if you don't know what good looks like, and I really need to say this, when a person, an agency, a business is telling you that they're killing it because you got X amount growth percentage of likes on Facebook, and you're going to believe that you're killing it, but you're not killing it. It's a vanity metric, and all that matters is conversion to sale. So you have to make it your business to understand how your path to purchase works.
Superb. All right. So we spoke a little about digital. Now we're going to move into traditional marketing. Now, I'd love you to start the conversation, but like when we're talking about traditional billboards, radio, especially for South Africa, it'd be great. Like, is traditional still a thing? Is that something people should consider? We'd love you to start the conversation now.
Yeah, absolutely, Danny. So I spent the first 15 years of my life in corporate, and when I started doing my own businesses, I realized that all these jargons only make sense when you're using someone else's budget. As an entrepreneur, you just want to get the job done. It doesn't matter how the job gets done. So just a step back, I think you're right. The traditional is a thing; it's still a thing, depending on your product. But also going digital is a thing. But I think what people need to understand is that there is no silver bullet that you will follow and will solve all your problems. I think it is important for people, especially for entrepreneurs, to understand that wherever they can get an advantage, they need to go for it. The stuff that's very expensive, I think marketing channels that they would not be able to afford. That's fine. That's not a problem. You need to go for the channels that you can afford. And what we used to be called traditional in an entrepreneur space, especially in a country like ours, some of those channels are actually become quite important. Simply picking up a phone and calling someone and saying, "Hi, my name is Neo, and I sell potatoes cheaper than my competitor." That old sales technique of picking up a phone and actually just calling a client works, because it's possible that you may be getting your sales from there. So I think one needs to be willing to try out all different channels, and not, especially as an entrepreneur, when you don't have budget as yet, do not discard what you consider the digital channels. With our company, we've been just before COVID and before the lockdown, we would still go to shopping malls and speak to people. Traditional, right? So yeah, I think that as an entrepreneur, people need to look at all options.
I love that. Thank you so much. Cool. Anyone else on the panel want to touch upon traditional, or just in general, like you said, entrepreneur keeping all channels open?
Yeah, so I want to redefine traditional because, like Neo said, when you start in corporate or when you exist as just, a regular human on the planet, like when you're a kid, someone's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? You're like, I don't know, astronaut, ballerina. Like no one ever says, data cruncher. It's just not, because that's what you see. So when you are growing up, even in the adult world, and you see traditional marketing, TV, radio, billboards, outdoor. Sorry, billboards is outdoor, right? So the traditional 4-part marketing mix, that I call that broadcast, right? You reach thousands and tens of thousands or millions of people. But if you got 1 million clients, that would be a problem. You don't need those. That's not going to be helpful to you. You're like, oh, brand awareness. Yeah. Okay, cute. It's not a lot like Nicola and Anna were saying, path to sales. Traditional marketing channels are not the path for early small business sales to get enough revenue and profits. Right, my zone is starting it up, not startups, starting it up, where like every dollar in is dollar in your pocket, every dollar out is dollar out of your pocket. And so traditional marketing channels for small businesses were not outdoor media like billboards or television or radio. They weren't. Traditional marketing channels for small businesses were things like events, trade shows, speaking, networking events. Traditional marketing channels for small businesses were direct sales, cold calling, and warm calling. These are traditional marketing channels and they still work amazing, right? So you don't have, again, if you're standing in front of me and I look for you and you're not online, you don't exist. So you have to exist online, you have to have a presence, but for a promotional strategy, for going out there and getting the attention of your audience in order to convert it to sales, I don't need attention that doesn't convert to sales. It's more than a vanity metric. Like that's just, once again, burn your money. And do the thing that gets in front of your people so that you can communicate with them in a way that will convert them to a sale. And there's a lot of traditional methods that still work fantastic that cost nothing or very little.
Super. And I think that that kind of relates to a comment that just came in from Azaria about, would you say traditional marketing works best for young startups, entrepreneurs in South Africa? Specifically, he feels that a lot of entrepreneurs do business through telemarketing and word of mouth. And I think that rings well with what you're saying. Cool. Well, I'm glad that's a great perspective on traditional marketing. And now let's move into I guess the last part of marketing channels, which is a little bit of what we touched upon, but let's talk about conversion strategy. And there's the idea of, and this will then move us to the next level, which is going to be like sales strategy, but let's talk a little bit about conversion. And Nicola, I know you wanted to say something on that point.
Yeah, it's a continuation of what we've been talking about, right? So if there's one thing you take away from today, you just think about the end user's path to purchase and visualize it, actually visualize it. If you think about how we used to engage with products 20 years ago, 30 years ago, giving away my age, but you have a need. I'm going to go back to the health example. So, I'm really tired. Yeah, young kids, running my own business. I need to up my energy levels. I really want to get something for fatigue. Okay, great. So I go into a wellness store, kind of like looking around the aisles. I don't really know. Ask somebody. They go, okay, well, this is get some vitamin B. Cool. Which one? Okay, well, these are the options. And okay, get one. Walk to the counter, got my product. Queue's really long. Got to fetch the kids. Dump the product. I'm out of there. Or the guy couldn't even tell me what the right thing was for fatigue. I've already left the store. So think about it like that. Visualize it. Now visualize it in terms of your store. So how they come in? They've come in from search, which means they were looking for your product or your solution. They came in. Did you automatically show them that you are that solution? Is that solution up front and center when they arrive there? Then they go, instant validation. Okay, I'm in the right place. Cool. Okay, let me find that product. Is it really easy for them to find what they're looking for? Make sure the navigation on your site is super easy. You should never be more than 3 clicks away from completed purchase. So, now they've got their product. Now they go to pay. They've added to cart. Cool, that was easy. You made it easy for them. They've added to cart. Now they're getting to checkout. Now you've got it. The biggest drop-off globally happens at checkout. I remember last year reporting a stat, it's probably more now, of 68% of drop-off happens at checkout stage, where they've added to cart, they've gone through all the motions. And then a lot of things happen. There's drop-off because they're worried that the site's not secure, there's not a security badge there, there's basic stuff. Remember, you're that person. You've got to the point, you've added to cart, and now you want to check out. Okay, I need to know that it's safe. I need to know that I've got options if I don't want to put my credit card details in and I would like to use a different payment gateway, for example. We don't have to get that technical. Maybe you just start with credit card. And then it's got to be, the payment, has got to be secure and go through straight away. And I get confirmation and I feel safe and everything's fine. And it tells me how long it's going to take to get to me. So that's just how you need to think about it in terms of path to purchase. If there's two things that you can solve for when you think about conversion, one is motivation. What motivation are you creating for the person to go into your path? And the second one is friction. How are you reducing any friction for them to be able to complete that path to purchase? So how are you motivating that they really need this vitamin B? And that motivation is keeping them going through that path to purchase, and you're not having any barriers so they can complete that purchase. Just make it as easy for people as possible, or they will abort.
Super. Thank you for taking us down the e-commerce sales funnel. And I'm an e-com geek, so appreciate it. Now what we're going to do, because we're nearing the last quarter of our session today, we're going to move into sales strategy, because there's marketing, there's sales, and I know we've touched upon a little bit, but let's talk a little about sales. We'll jump right into prospecting, sales process. I know there's a question that just came in about the relationship between sales and marketing. So Neil, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sorry, I saw Esti had unmuted. Sorry, Esti. Yeah, absolutely, and I think if you're not selling, you're not billing. If you're not billing, you're not growing. It really is that simple. And I think that if you remove all the fancy jargons around the sales, it really is around how do you get to present your product and your brand in the best possible way, in a way that can be accepted by customers to a point that they would spend their money on it. That really is what it boils down to. But before even that, you have to find a clear strategy to get to market. And I find that when you're still a young startup and you don't have budget, you don't have money, and you're still trying to make it, like I said, nothing is off the table. Okay. There's nothing that gets under my skin like LinkedIn Premium, where you have a lot of entrepreneurs who, why do I need to subscribe to LinkedIn in order to speak to you? Use that LinkedIn, use it, open yourself up, speak to people about your product, about your brand, be open enough, do not lock yourself in and close yourself off. There is generally fear around, I'm worried someone may steal my idea. More often than not, no one is really interested in your idea. They have other ideas of their own. Be open, and you realize that as the more you speak to people about your product, the more they help you, the more they connect you to other people that can help you scale. And I think two things that I'd like to put as takeaways. One is, remember, when you're selling and people are rejecting you, they're not rejecting you. It's possible that at that point in time, they don't need your product. So don't take it personal at all. They like your face very much, it's just they're not ready at that point in time. And secondly, speak to as many people as you can. It's okay, be that person when you check into an Airbnb. They want to ask you what you do. Give them a whole pitch of your business. You never know.
Superb. Do you want to add on there?
I would love to. So frameworks, branding, marketing, and sales are kind of like a 3-ring Venn diagram. Okay, they all overlap on each other. The center of the 3 where they all overlap is the target audience. Branding, marketing, and sales are all for your target. Everything's for the people. I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, people get, we get very enthralled with our idea and what we're doing. And we forget that if we want to make money with it, we're doing it for humans who want to pay for it. So they're the center. And the 3 interface, you cannot separate them. Okay, large companies that separate them suffer tremendously for that separation. And especially in today's world where everything moves so quick, small business owners have a huge advantage when everything is connected. Your marketing and sales connect on your promotional strategy, right? Your marketing is all the things that you do to create and communicate value to your audience to convince them to buy. That going out there and communicating and getting people's attention is where marketing ends. Marketing ends when I've gotten someone's attention. That's where sales begins. Sales begins with that attention, takes attention, turns it into dollars in your pocket. That's the job of sales. And it goes through a 5-step process. It's going to be too much information. Danny, am I at TMI?
I think if you go through it quickly, it will be valuable.
I can talk really fast.
Go for it.
All right, 5 steps. Okay, sales funnel. Yeah. Oh, jackets. Sales funnel looks like this. Yeah. I don't care if it's online. I don't care if it's offline. It's wider at the top. It's narrower at the bottom. Yeah. You're always putting in more attention, money, and energy than you are getting dollars out at the bottom. But the more focused you are, the more your funnel gets narrower. So you're putting in less at the top, the wider it gets at the bottom. And look, that's what we call a pipeline. Get it? Isn't that cute? All right. So the 5 steps: attention. I'm getting someone's attention. Then I need their interest. I need them to care. If I just get attention, which is why so much of traditional broadcast marketing does not work for small businesses, you get a lot of attention, people won't necessarily be interested. That's why the dollars are wasted. You drop them at level 2. Once they're interested, and that's based on your messaging, they move to evaluation. Is this for me? People always evaluate first on the merits and then negotiate on the price. So when someone calls you, new client, prospect, funder, and they say how much, they've already gone through step 1, 2, and 3. They've already you've gotten their attention. They are interested, but they've also evaluated you. Never let someone evaluate you if you have the opportunity to get them to reevaluate. So when someone calls and says how much, you say, it depends on what you need. Let me get a clearer picture of what we need to solve for you. Okay, go back to evaluation, negotiation, and decision. That's the cart. Doesn't have to be online. It could be offline also, right? How many people in service businesses, you have that conversation with a potential client 1, 2, 3 times, and then they're gone. Right? That's a dropped cart. It's the same idea. Do a follow-up. You need a follow-up strategy there. And then you get people through all 5.
Super. And I think you guys are getting like a college level course today. We're going through marketing funnels. We're going through e-commerce funnels. Like, this is amazing. Only with Online X and Yep and Funder. So we're going to move on to the final part about analysis, optimization, measurement, and North Stars, because we love North Stars. But Nicola and Anna, I'm going to hand it off to you to kind of close up. And then hopefully we'll have a couple minutes to go through some of the other questions. We had a ton of questions today.
Fantastic. So I'm incredibly passionate about measurement because I think it's incredibly important. Even if you're a one-man band, even if it's you and your mom selling stuff on the side of the road, even if it's, a tiny business to a really big business, I think it's really important that what we like to call a North Star is. So what it is that you are tracking and measuring, and how are you thinking about that measurement? And the reason we like the metric of a North Star, and it goes into quite a bit of detail, so you can absolutely Google this, and there's quite a few nice frameworks online. But essentially, a North Star is not a revenue target. Some companies can use a revenue target, but it's not always a really good representation, because a North Star should take in a proxy for revenue. So, for example, how many people are looking for you, or how many people are interested in your product, how many people are using your website. So there are some really, really nice frameworks, which I would encourage you all to have a read into. And once you've established what your North Star is for your business, it's really important that you measure and that you understand how you're tracking and how you get there. So before we get into, a lot of detail on how to set up tracking and conversion metrics on your website and things like that, I think I would like to advise this team just to have a think about where you want to be in 3 to 5 years' time. What are the things that are going to be that are going to matter? How are you going to focus your team on the things that you're going to do? And how are you going to define the things that you are not going to do? Because when you're a startup, it's really, really, really easy to get sidelined and to get distracted by so many things. And, is there LinkedIn? Should I be messaging every CEO in corporate South Africa and beyond for my product? Should I be phoning everybody? Should I be actually, I'm just going to go stand on the street corner and with a billboard, and then hopefully that works. So there's so many things that you can actually try. And we all get distracted. We're all human. We all get distracted by nice, shiny things. So I think it's really important that you think about how you organize yourself, what it is that you are focusing on, what it is that you're not doing, and what it is that you're doing. So when the next idea comes to your head, you go, that's going to get me closer to my North Star, because it's going to help me bring in additional revenue or 3 more clients that is actually going to make the rest of February work. And that's fantastic. Or no, that's going to waste 2 days of my time and actually not really going to go somewhere. And you know what? I'm an accounting business and I can't be selling groceries at the same time. So you've got to think about what it is that you do, what your North Star is, and then think about the things that you're going to measure on a monthly or a quarterly basis to make sure that you are tracking to achieve your North Star.
And just to add to it, if I want to just give some practical examples. So in both the service and the product space. So using the health example and just continuing with that same analogy. So now say, for example, you are selling health supplements. Now, your North Star, an example would be something like, I would like to grow an active user base of X in the next 12 months. And then you would say, okay, what does active mean? And then you need to define that. You need to go, well, that is somebody that is purchasing from me in my online store every 30 days or every 60 days, because when you think about health supplements, they have a life cycle of 30 capsules or 60 capsules. And then you know that you can trigger when that person has finished that cycle, you can trigger a repeat purchase in 10 days time. Your vitamin B will run out. And so just, stay focused on that, and you can track that and measure that. So that's in a product space. In a service space, your North Star might be that you want to have an active client base of X in a month, where you're specifically solving for this. But say if you're the health practitioner and you want to have X amount of clients in a year, in a period of time that you want to be servicing. So just, it needs to be something that is an indicator of revenue, but revenue is not your North Star. Businesses aren't built off revenue. Businesses are built off people, and people creates revenue. So what are you solving for people?
Super. Thank you so much. So I think we've got about 3 minutes left. So I want to just cover maybe some rapid fire questions. I can answer really quickly just to kind of end it off, and then we can announce our 2 voucher winners. There was a great question that came in earlier about should an individual be the face of their company? Anyone a quick thought on that?
I would say that in today's world, if you are willing to, you will gain a huge advantage. People always buy from people, right? You're never selling to a company. You're selling to individuals within the company. And when you are selling your product, and especially your service, people want to buy from you. Some people really don't want to be the face of their brand. Okay, we can work with that. But if you're willing or you're interested in it, you will gain a huge advantage, especially if you're doing any type of organic social media.
Super. I think that's great advice. There was a question earlier about PR and any tricks for pitching, like pitching ideas to like news agencies and things like that. Anyone have any like PR hacks?
Sure. I'm happy to take this one. And I think it was actually related to, I think it was a health question or a health business, but regardless of what the business is, the way that I think about PR is, what is the journalist or the media want something to write about? They want something, they want a nugget. They want something that nobody else is thinking about or talking about. So how are you creating that story for them, or how are you helping uncover that story for them? So do you have the best possible way to maximize on your health? Is it the best? So you have to think about it again. What is the benefit to the customer? And also at that stage, what is the benefit to the media? Media only want to know about the things that nobody else is talking about, that they can scoop a story on. They don't care about a product release. They don't care about how big you are, unless there's something in it for them. So you have to think like a journalist and think about it like a reader. What would be interesting to a reader, and what would be interesting to that journalist? What can you give them that no one else can, that you have insights on?
And in the right context, because no journo or influencer for that matter, anybody who's talking about your product or service, they're not going to go, I have found this amazing vitamin B product and you all need to go and buy it immediately. I mean, first of all, you would have to pay for that, and second of all, it wouldn't work very well. You've got to put it into the context. Fatigue is on the rise in South Africa. Fatigue drops productivity in a struggling economy. And then you're the solution to this burning platform, but you've got to be an answer to something. You are not the headline.
Super. So we literally have 0 seconds left, but just I want to sum up, give everyone a last chance. 1 point to go home away with. Neo, 1 point.
I think as entrepreneurs, your job is to go out and sell. However way you do it, all this information that have been shared with you from all the panelists is valuable. Take it, synthesize it, pick what works for you, and keep selling, selling, and selling.
Thanks, Neo. Esty, final words.
One path. You only need one path to sell. You don't need to do 1,600 things. You need one message that resonates with one core group of people who want to pay you money, that you disseminate through one channel that consistently brings you sales, and you can grow from there. So instead of trying to be everywhere and figure out all the things you need to do, find the one easiest, simplest, most fun thing to do that gets you the money.
Thanks, Esty. And Nicola and Anna?
Go for it. Don't take no for an answer. I saw many questions about how do you deal with rejection? How do you deal with people saying no? You're an entrepreneur. You have to dust off yourself and get up again and face the world. And you learn through that, and don't take that to heart. And that is our job.
And related to that, we have so much access to information now. Everything is accessible. Just teach yourself. You'll get it wrong, and that's fine. Go understand how Google Analytics works. Go understand how to set up your own keywords. You don't need a horde of specialists. Just trust yourself, and trust yourself to educate yourself.
Super. And I would say just get going. Some of us are like just sitting on our couch, but we got to get up and start moving. Thank you so much. What a wonderful panel today. Esty, Neo, Nicola, and Anna. We really appreciate your time and expertise. And I see like the comments, people just loved it. So thank you so much. For our grand winners, if I had a drum roll, I would do it, but I'm a guitar player. So for the 2 Take Lot 500 Rand vouchers by YEP, the winners for today are Odessa Brizin, Sadiqa Salih, and I believe that the team at Online X will be reaching out to you. That's pretty much it for today. As you guys know, this is a series of webinars. There's a link inside the chat for the next session. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, Yep, Funder, Online X, and all the wonderful panelists today. And I hope you have a good evening. And for those in the US, a good morning.
Want to find great? Follow me. New listings. Whatever you're looking for, you'll find it on Yep. Yep has a range of great traders and suppliers. Those are artists. Let me take you to the painters. There you go.